Well, I guess I should call this podcast Check-In Tuesday. We've got two check-ins that we're going to be handling today. We're going to catch up with our good buddy Mark Still, the slow guy on the fast ride. See how he's doing today. And, of course, everybody's favorite, we've got Ask Katie today on the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast. Good day and welcome to the Personal Edge Fitness Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today. I got to get through this intro. How do you get in touch with us and whatever real quick, because we got a couple of guests today on what I'm calling Check-In Tuesday. We're going to be checking in with our good buddy Mark Still, the slow guy on the fast ride, getting ready for his 250-mile race coming up in just a couple of months. This is, if you remember, we had a podcast a couple of weeks ago. This is my buddy. He's 55 years old. He's gotten himself out of shape on blood pressure medication, the whole 9 yards. And he's decided that he wanted to get in shape, but he had a very interesting way of going about it, and that is, been a cyclist all his life, had stepped away from it for a while. And so he decided to give himself a massive challenge to take on a 250-mile gravel bike race. After being off for all these years, and he's only got 3 months to get ready. So we're going to see how he's doing in his journey. And, of course, our ever-popular Katie is going to be joining us today, our exercise specialist. She's got her several questions from her Ask Katie series, so she's going to be checking in and answering those today. So we're looking forward to having her on the show. Now, if you have any questions concerning this podcast or any others, or got a question for Katie, or anything that would help you dispel the myths of health, fitness, and wellness, please reach out to me. My name is Garrett Williamson, president of Personal Edge Fitness. You can reach me at Garrett, Garrett, at personaledgefitness.com. You can also contact us at area code 251-278-3343. That's 251-278-EDGE. You can also reach out to us on our website, which, of course, is personaledgefitness.com, and also our Facebook page, Personal Edge Fitness. Hit us up on Twitter at Team PE if you're so inclined. So we're going to turn it over now and go ahead and before we bring Katie on the show, she's waiting ready to go. But before we bring her on, let's check in with Mark Still and see how he's doing on his journey. Okay, I've really been looking forward to this. You know, as I said earlier, we were going to check in on my good buddy Mark Still with Fast Guy on the Slow Ride, doing a heck of a challenge. And we're 2 weeks since we talked to him last. Let's see how we're doing. Mark, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Garrett. And by the way, I like the way you said that, fast guy on the slow ride. It's actually the other way around. It's a slow guy on the fast ride. And I am a slow guy on the slow guy on the fast ride. It's my friend Dan Cavallari that runs the website where all this content lives. But
great, and I should have
like
made
the way
sure.
You put it. I'd rather be a fast guy on a slow ride.
Well, listen, I chased you enough on a bike that I figured you've had 2 weeks of training. I mean, I figured you'd updated the website by now, you know?
Yeah, I'm back.
So,
I'm back
hey,
now.
let's make sure we get
100% fast.
Let's make sure we get that back to back to where to state it the correct way. Tell me that again. Go ahead.
Slow guy on the fast ride.
Gotcha. The slow guy on the fast ride, and that is the slow guy on the fast ride. It is a .com. Is that correct or?
Yep, .com. And you can find it on Instagram at slow guy on the fast ride. And it's my friend Dan Cavallari, former tech editor at Velo News.
Right.
But that's where all this content, where it lives, so you can see everything about this project and whether or not I make it or not there on the website.
Awesome. Well, man, no matter what we get into today, we're all pulling for you on this end. So, and you're already thinking quick because you're correcting me on this. So, man, I'm telling you, it's got to be going well. Tell us, how's it going so far?
You know, I think I wish. We all wish things happened faster,
right?
And some friends, and you may have even warned me about this too. Don't jump in too quick, because after quite a few years of inactivity, last thing you want to do is jump on the bike, go too far, too fast, too hard, and hurt yourself.
Yeah,
I've certainly done that. I've certainly eased into it. But,
okay, good.
But you know, it's definitely ramping up. So I'm riding a little bit more. I've even done something that I never wanted to ever do again, which is ride a stationary trainer.
Okay.
Because it snowed yesterday here in Colorado, so riding outside's tough. So I'm making progress on the volume and making progress on the way things feel. I feel a lot more like I used to feel on a bike, and that's a wonderful feeling.
I would argue, since you stated it that way, that that you're starting to feel like Mark again.
Yeah, for sure. And it's I'm a little surprised at how quickly all that came back, because honestly, it's less than 300 miles.
Right.
And that's what, 20 hours, 25 hours on a bike after years off. And just the other day I was riding and I thought, man, I kind of feel like I used to feel. I'm slow,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I feel that joy and I feel the sensations that it's like I never stepped off the bike. I think that's pretty amazing that
Yeah.
deep connection,
Exactly.
the athletic motions, all that stuff comes back so quick. I was pretty
Absolutely.
excited.
Well, and that goes to I actually did a podcast on this, and the fans of the show will remember that we talked about muscle memory. We talked about learning patterns and what have you, and the fact that your body does have pretty much a homeostasis as far as is the activities that you do, and if you do them long enough, it's like I went out to Kansas and saw the Oregon Trail, and the so many people had gone on that trail that you can still see the ruts to this day out there. And that's basically, I mean, when you've done something for so long, it's there. Your body's going to remember it. And so that's what you're experiencing right now. And I'm glad to hear that, which I think should make you feel like, okay, now this is getting, I shouldn't say easier because you've got a heck of a challenge, but now that you're feeling normal again, back to your old self, it's got to be it should have lightened the load a little bit at least.
Hopeful. I think it gives you a little bit of hope, because I had hoped that I got a little bit of credit for the 20-something years that I did this all the time.
Right. Right.
I wasn't really I was physically starting just about from scratch, but I wasn't mentally starting from scratch. I know how to ride a bike. I know what I'm getting into. So
sure.
It's good. It does give me a little hope for that day, because it's going to be a long day, that if that stuff all comes back that quick, that's just a bunch of really important things that I don't have to learn or think about. It's just going to be there.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. And I tell you what, before we go any further, I did a little bit of this in the introduction, but for our new listeners that didn't catch our other podcast, give everybody a quick summary of what you got going on here. It's a heck of a challenge.
Yeah. So, bike rider, a big part of my life for 20-something years. Fell off the wagon, haven't really done much of anything physical, wanted to get back to it and set some big public audacious goal to hold me accountable and just make it fun and maybe inspire somebody else. So I picked Unbound Gravel 200, which is the kind of the preeminent gravel event in the U.S.
Right.
It's a 200 mile that starts in Emporia, Kansas, and ride through what they call the Flint Road. So it's Flint gravel, so sharp edge, rough, chunky gravel.
Right.
For 200 miles. And instead of starting a year or two in advance and getting ready, I started in March, and I had 3 months, and one of those months is gone already.
Exactly. So we're a month into it already, and 2 more to go, and we want to catch you again, hopefully before your ride happens. So you've got 30 days of this under your belt at least, so roughly somewhere around there. What have you noticed? You were off the bike for a while. I won't say you were out of cycling, because I know your interest is still there, but you were off the bike for a while. Okay. What have you picked up changes and what have you that you've experienced so far as either yourself, equipment, whatever?
Well, equipment-wise, it's remarkable how different road bike and gravel bike technology is in just the 4 or 5, 6 years since I last bought a nice bike.
Right.
Electronic drivetrains are just the norm now. Disc brakes have been the norm, but I'd never had a road bike of my own with disc brakes.
Right.
The electronic drivetrains have been just a hoot. If you know me, you know I like the gear part of this piece.
Sure.
So being able to plug an app up to turn an app on and micro adjust gears and change the way the gears interact with each other and pair things with computers and watch gear changes. It's just been fascinating. And I like that stuff. And I think that stuff will occupy my mind on the day, which helps not be occupied with the painful parts of the ride. So the gear's been fun. I've got a gravel. I've had one gravel bike before. It's an inexpensive bike. I kept just to play with it and see.
Sure.
I have a very nice Alchemy Ronin gravel bike now. That's been a revelation in terms of comfort and handling and having the wide tires. So a lot of things have changed in the technology since I last rode.
Now I want to stop you here. Can just tell for the listeners, can you tell this guy used to own a bike shop? I mean, he is a true bike gearhead. I really, really believe that. So, but hey, I can understand the changes as far as that goes. And I know you're fascinated by that. In fact, I would think that it's not. There are times when I've got to stop looking at this and I got to go for a ride. Because
that happens a lot.
I wouldn't doubt it.
I'm downstairs fiddling with something for 20 minutes, and I probably should just get on and pedal.
Right, exactly. So, but other changes you've experienced as far as that goes, things you've noticed.
Well, I'll tell you probably one of the bigger challenges. Two things. One's been bike fit, so I am struggling to find a comfortable position. I'm just not as flexible as I was the last time I rode a bike. The way I sit on the bike's a little bit different, so I'm struggling to find that position. But I've got some schedule time coming up with the professional bike fitter. If you guys haven't ever done professional bike fits, they're beautiful things, and you should do them.
Absolutely.
The other thing that's been a bit of a struggle is, we talked about I've got some health issues. One of those is high blood pressure, and I take medication for that.
Right.
In that medication is a diuretic, so it makes it a little tough to stay hydrated when the medication's trying to get the fluid out.
Right.
And as I get more active, I need less medication. So it's been a little bit of a challenge to stay on top of that. How much medication should I be taking? And I'm working with the doctor to know that,
of course,
he's got a range for me.
Right. I
can take some or all or anywhere in between based on, am I doing 30 minutes of exercise a day or 3 hours?
Right.
And I've missed that calculation here over the weekend. I went for a 3 hour, it was supposed to be a 4 or 5 hour ride, but a few hours in I could tell something was going wrong.
Sure.
And by the time I got home, my blood pressure was 90/70, which is super low for me.
Yeah.
Because I took too much of the medications. That's been an unexpected. I knew it was going to be a bit of a challenge.
Right.
But it's been a little harder than I thought to keep up with that. So working with the doc on that to know, when to take the medicine, how much to take, when I plan the rides and things.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation because it's something that we deal with quite a bit here with clientele. And we found out just recently. I don't know if you noticed it or not, but we're dealing with one of the top 5 obese cities in the nation, and of course we see a lot of high blood pressure. It's one of the most common things that we see, and we deal a lot with I think it's a general understanding that if you're on high blood pressure medication, because basically overall you're out of shape, then it's basically understood that you, through exercise and getting in shape and whatever, you can get off that medication. You lower the dose or get completely off of them. We've had plenty of clients that have gone through that, but rarely do people talk about the actual going through the process. And when you put the process, like exercise and what have you, and making those changes, well, usually we stretch that out. We stretch out those changes. We slowly increase the exercise intensity and as your fitness level gets better. And then, so over time, over a period of time, depending on your particular condition, 6 months, a year, 2 years sometimes, we can usually bring people at least to a lower dosage, if not take them completely off. But this is very interesting because you've put this fitness journey on steroids because you're going after it. I mean, I know that you've said 300 miles that you've put in. Is that right?
Yeah, not very much, but certainly that's a compressed timeline. Not 6 months or a year. It's let's get this done in the next couple months.
And so you're going to have those. I mean, challenges. That's a real heavy test. I mean, that's like swinging 2 bats on an undecked circle as far as a test for blood pressure medication and blood pressure challenges. I've had people that have been on a certain dose, and then eventually 6 months down the road or whatever, we start seeing what you're seeing. We start seeing extremely low blood pressures, and we have that repeat after an exercise bout, and we realize, hey, go back and see your doctor. You probably need to change that. Well, you're seeing that within 30 days, and I think that's amazing. But you're experiencing the same thing that somebody else was experiencing, just in a much shorter period of time. And that, I know that's got to be a challenge. I'm glad you're working with a doctor on that, because that's got to be a very interesting challenge, making those changes.
Yeah, it is, and it's compounded, I think, by the climate here. It's extremely dry.
Sure.
In Colorado, and so it's really easy to get dehydrated. And
right.
when you're trying to balance nutrition, am I eating enough on a bike to be out here for 3 or 4 hours?
Right.
Am I drinking enough? Am I getting the right electrolyte load?
Yeah.
How much of the medication for blood pressure did I take, and how hard is the ride versus what I thought? It's a lot of moving parts. But you know what? I'll figure it out, and I'd rather have that problem than the thought of taking all of that medication, probably an increasing amount of that medication over the next 10 years.
Absolutely.
If I wasn't trying to do something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I got you. So how have you been feeling? You been sleeping better or sleeping worse, or is it disrupting it, soreness? What are we experiencing?
Well, sleeping's been tough, but I don't think it's related to this. We have a lovely dog named Watts, and for 8.5 years, he slept in his crate every night. And then we let him stay at a friend of ours' house who didn't put him in the crate, and now he thinks he should sleep with us. So it's been a little hard to sleep, but it's the dog.
I got you.
Wiggling around the bed.
Adding yet another challenge to this challenge.
Yet another challenge. But, sleep's going okay. Muscle soreness has been good. I don't have a lot of that.
Good.
I have struggled a bit with the hydration piece and cramping, which is unusual. I almost never have ever cramped on a bike.
Right.
So I think that's just the hydration piece. But muscle soreness has been good. I've maintained, I don't know if we talked about this, but in 2021 on New Year's Day, I was sitting on the floor petting the dog and wondered if I could do 100 push-ups every day in 2021.
Yeah.
And so I just started by doing 4 sets of 25, and it turns out I could do it. And I did 100 push-ups every day, entire year. So I've continued that. So I think having that, that helps a lot with core strength and, shoulders and necks and backs. So
absolutely,
that was a good base because I haven't kept doing 100, but I do some number of push-ups pretty much every day.
Right.
So physically, that's good. My back's in good shape. Some folks may remember that I've historically had some back issues related to bike riding. That has not been a problem yet. And I attribute that to those push-ups and some core strength.
Yeah.
But in general, that stuff's going really well.
Good. That's fantastic. So what's next? I mean, we just continue with the training. Any major changes you see coming up in the next couple of weeks as far as your training? Are you ramping up your schedule? What's going on?
It's volume, yeah. It's all about consistency and volume. I got to hang out with a really well-known coach in the gravel world, Kristen Ligon.
Okay.
She's actually in Emporia, Kansas, doing gravel camps right now. But she hung out and reinforced some of the things that I knew and gave me a few extra tips. But to her, because I can't really go out and ride 100-mile days every day, consistently getting time on the bike, even if it's only 30 minutes or an hour, is really important. Multiple days in a row to stack the load.
Yeah.
So that's another reason that trainer's going to be helpful with the weather, not cooperating, because it's just set up down there. I can run down, get on it for 30 minutes or an hour.
Right.
But I really have got to get some volume. I've got to figure out what things feel like at 100 miles.
Yeah.
And so that means I've got to work on that fit thing, because right now I just can't. At around 3 hours, my neck's a little too knotted up for that. So I got to work on that.
I got you.
But mostly the plan is, I think all the bases are in place, the basic pieces and parts. It's time to get the volume up and the training load to be a little heavier.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. So, well, this is not the end of the journey. I mean, I know you've got about 2 months left, and we want to check in with you again in a few weeks and see how we're doing. But man, it sounds like everything's going great. I'm excited to see. I'm really excited to see the change in that blood pressure. I think that's fascinating. But the fact that you had the muscle memory, that your body had adjusted to riding yet again. I mean, it's been there before. You're starting to feel normal on this. I'm thinking great things, even though it is. I mean, it's still a monster challenge, and you do have you got a big finish to this thing. I mean, the training's going to go great, but 250 miles in this thing. I know we still got a battle ahead of us. So, man, I wish you the best of luck with it, and we'll check back in with you. Okay.
Sounds good. Thanks, Garrett. Appreciate it.
Look forward to it too, Mark. And good luck, man. Take care.
Thanks.
All right. Well, that was pretty neat. I mean, kind of amazing that he's condensing. We're seeing changes going on that we see in our clients,
right?
But he's condensing in such a tight window. I mean, it's fascinating, and it's the same things we see, which I think is amazing. I guess the most amazing part that I was so impressed with was that blood pressure change. That was really interesting. But can you believe? And I mean, an athlete yourself. So, which means, and a collegiate athlete on top of that, which means you've done ridiculous things athletically. I'm sure you have, but 250-mile gravel bike race, first and foremost, 250-mile gravel bike race, and then only 3 months to train,
right?
And being completely out of shape.
Bananas.
I agree. Hey, well, welcome Katie back to our show for our segment, second part of of Check-In Tuesday, our segment Ask Katie. Welcome back to the show. Glad to have you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, she asked some questions that you have asked and sent to us. So let's start this interesting charade.
Okay. I have a question here. I know who it's from. Not going to call them out, but their question is, are you ever going to take your trophy home? No.
If you've watched the video, you notice that we've got something here between us. Check this out if you haven't seen it. This is I don't think we get it all the way on the screen. It's like scroll it up and down. And so talking about ridiculous athletic events. Please tell our listeners and our viewers here, if you're not watching this on social media, we're actually showing this monstrous trophy, and I don't want to stand up. I mean, next to it because I mean you can see how short I really am, or how tall this trophy is, one or the other. So tell us about the trophy.
Right. So it was actually a keg throwing competition.
I love it.
Kegs were empty. Kegs were empty.
Representing Personal Edge,
right?
Of course.
And no kegs were harmed in the competition.
Exactly. So
no, it was so much fun. I can't wait for another one.
Right.
And no, we're gonna collect them here. They're gonna stay here where they belong.
Exactly. So she's now the reigning champ,
right,
of O'Daly's keg throwing.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So the reigning female champ, and we decided what we're going to do for her is we're going to get her a belt so she can wear it over her shoulder and she can call out the other like wrestlers do, hey Scotty, when I'm taking you next, I can see. I can't wait, Katie. This is going to be.
I know that's going to be our new staff retreat. Is the keg throwing competition.
so just like in dodgeball, keg throwing classes will be beginning this summer sometime. I'm sure.
Summer, for sure.
Exactly. It's fun for the ladies. I'm telling you, they're all about it. So trophy stays here. Stays here.
It's staying.
Definitely. So what else?
What is your favorite workout? Also, do you like arms or legs more?
Now, I'm dying to hear your answer to this, but I've always said that, and I finally, I guess it was, been doing this for 32 years. So it probably took several years for me to finally admit what we all know, and that is that, and you tell me if you disagree, but I always say to clients that, and I put them on one particular machine when I say this the first time, and you know what machine it is, and that I say that if a trainer tells you that they don't have a favorite body part, a favorite exercise, or a favorite machine, they're lying to you, because we all do. I mean, and I mean, I don't know if you're to the point where you can admit that yet, but
I am.
absolutely. So, favorite. I mean, what is this? The favorite upper body, lower body? What is it?
Upper body.
Upper body.
Sure.
Cool.
It used to be lower back when I was playing basketball.
Right.
Now it is my back. I really enjoy pull days.
I love it.
I don't want to say that to
I
the
love
pull
that.
guy.
Exactly.
So,
You're in my territory. I love pull days. That's a favorite.
Right.
Yeah.
So pull days. Favorite workout is just going to be, type of workout, just lifting weights. I've been doing a lot of bodybuilding from Jeff Nippard lately, but avoiding cardio, even though I just got back from a run with Gary.
Exactly. You just got back from chasing Gary.
Right, chasing Gary.
Right.
Yeah.
Gary's a coot, and he's one of our directors here. Has been with Personal Edge for 15 years, and he likes to drag not only clients but also trainers on runs with him. And so they just got back from that. She cooled off for a good while before she came in to finish the podcast, which we appreciate definitely. So, but I love that pull day. I'm telling you, I'm not gonna ask you. I'm gonna answer this for you, and that is that evidently I've made a great impression on you. Really, you don't have to answer. I'm telling you. I'm sure that's what it is. So, because that happens to be my favorite too. So.
Okay, well, I guess I'm gonna throw a question at you then. What is the best full body workout if you're limited on time?
Actually, these are some of my favorite workouts. As crazy as it seems, I love that challenge. I love that challenge myself. I love doing that myself. And when I have a client that's running late and still needs to get the workout in, we can't shuffle them on the schedule. And it's a challenge. Okay, you're going to have a workout. I don't care if I've got 11 minutes. You're going to have a workout. And one of my favorite go-tos, believe it or not, and the reason I say this is because you can do this almost anywhere. And that is it's an EMOM every minute on the minute, and actually you can stop there. So most any workout that is going to that's going to make you sweat a bit. It's going to make you move a bit, depending on what exercises you use in the EMOM. And the EMOM, every minute on the minute, what it is you conduct a series of exercises, and you have a timer running, and you have a minute. You have 60 seconds, and the idea is to complete the exercises correctly, of course, as fast as you can, because whatever's left in that minute as that timer's running is your rest time. And so, if you get it done quicker, then you can rest longer, and you could do. There are EMOMs that you can do that you can do 5 rounds on an EMOM and get a great workout in. So, but mine is my favorite go-to is 5, 10, 15 EMOM, which is 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 squats on an EMOM. And then basically look at the time you have, allow some time for a little bit of warm-up, a little bit of a cool-down, minute or so each at least. And then you've got a 9-minute EMOM, and that's pretty aggressive. So.
Right. I know that there's a few clients here that I've been putting through some EMOMs for cardio days, and they're not loving them, but it's good for them. So.
Right. As we call it, another satisfied customer. So what would you say to that? I mean, what is your go-to on as far as that goes? So what are you after?
Yeah, I love that. Me being limited on time, I'm just looking to get my heart rate up.
Okay.
And an EMOM is a great way to do that.
Right.
You don't even have to do that, though. You could just do squat jumps.
Yeah,
and
that's
some
great.
Push-ups, like
Fantastic.
just mix it in. You know,
Right.
It doesn't have to be on a timer if you're somebody that doesn't like the timer looming over you.
Right.
But yeah, just anything that's going to get your heart rate up is what I'm looking for.
You know, and there's so many good full body weight exercises to do.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the ultimate. I mean, not everybody's fit enough to do this, and most people hate them. But you know, a burpee. I mean, you know, a man maker if you got a couple of dumbbells, even, you know what I mean? And honestly, you can do 10 man makers. Trust me, you've touched everything, and if nothing else, you've stopped atrophy.
Oh yeah.
So I like that. But yeah, getting your heart rate up, I'm all with you on that.
Wade
It's
Harris
fantastic.
knows that some of the worst workouts are no equipment body weight workouts,
Yeah.
and he gets nervous when he comes in.
Had a client say that to me years ago. Said when I see you go for either the lightest weights or no weight,
Yeah.
I feel like Jeff Goldblum in The Fly. I mean, actually, he didn't say it, but it was said about him. Gina Davis said about him, be afraid. Be very afraid.
Right, or one piece of equipment.
Yes.
That's when you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Exactly. We're not quite as sadistic as it may seem.
I promise.
But we have had there was rumors that we've had trainers that once they started working here, they were able to give up their anger management classes, so they were
awesome.
cured. So
Right.
I'm not sure if that's related, but anyway, we better go to the next one.
All right, next question is a rest day absolutely necessary? And my answer to that is yes. However, if you're one of those people that can't sit still, you can do what's called an active rest day or an active recovery day and
Yeah.
go for a walk.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
a nice slow walk outside. I know it's getting hot though. Probably just
Especially
go
if
for a
you're a New
walk.
Yorker, it's
Right.
getting hot.
It's hot and humid.
Right. We just call this Wednesday here, but but yeah, it gets a little warm out there. But I agree with your thought process on that. There's so many clients, so many athletes, latent athletes, or what have you, that just once they get going in the program, if they're not doing something, they feel like they're going backwards.
Right.
And that we've had challenges with clients that way at times that when in doubt work. I've talked about generations that the greatest generation, the baby boomers, they are when in doubt work, and so it's hard to pull your head into a rest day.
Right.
You know, and so I like your caveat with that, which I fully agree, and I get it. We've said so many times on the show that we work with heads as much as we work with bodies.
For sure.
And Katie's answer to that I agree with. If nothing else, increase circulation.
Right.
It's going to help you recover.
Walk, go for just stretch.
Right.
Sit down,
Right.
stretch, maybe do some meditation or some yoga.
Yeah. Perfect. So let me ask. You've never been in a situation since you're, a kinesiologist
Yeah.
with a master's degree,
Right.
and an athlete. You've never been in a situation where you've trained without a rest day, have you? See, that's so sweet of her. She doesn't like to lie. We all have been at some point in our time in our life,
Right.
been in that aggressive state, and sometimes you have to pull that choke
Right.
collar.
Your body needs to rest. Your
Absolutely.
body needs to recover.
Absolutely. So let's recover from that and go on to our next question.
All right, this one I'm throwing at you again. How important is sport-specific training for younger athletes?
You know, I tell you, the best person to answer this question is Charlie, because Charlie and I did a fantastic series of podcasts talking about dealing with this, and he'd just gone to a conference, and right after that conference, he and I did a podcast on this series of basically how to train an athlete and training them at different stages, and right after he got back, this is something they talked about at the conference, and then from Dr. I can't think of his name right now, the orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Andrews had put out an article talking about how kids were getting into specificity as far as choosing a sport at such young ages now, and now they're not taking. There's no off season. You know, they're training. Not quite the question that you're asking, I know.
No, I get
but
it.
whenever I hear about young athletes and specificity, that's one of the things I talk about. It's a red flag right now.
Right.
About not, and it's funny you said talking about a rest day a minute ago. We're talking about they're not having an off season. You know, I mean, you play basketball,
Right.
And I mean, at some point in time, you had a somewhat of an off season, I would guess.
A little bit, but I mean, even when I was playing, we went from winter basketball and like high school basketball straight into AAU and travel ball. And I've noticed that down here. A lot of these, kids down here are going straight in from their school sport into a travel team or a different league.
Right. I can't tell you when I was coaching, and I didn't coach baseball, I was coaching gymnastics and coaching diving, and how many of my parents would come in and say, "Oh gosh, I hope my son doesn't make All-Stars. I hope he doesn't make All-Stars." And I'm thinking, I hope my son doesn't make All-Stars, and the reason being the family wasn't having time off. So, but not what we're really talking. I'm sorry, I'm going off subject because we're talking about specificity of training, and how important is that? Well, I think we've kind of gone somewhat a little bit off the rails as far as specificity of training, and the reason I say that is it's very important. The more they get into the sport, and to actually, it's more of a fine tuning type of thing. It's getting into the beginnings of fine tuning for a sport, if I do it with pole vaulters. If I have a pole vaulter coming in, then I'm going to definitely make sure they've got that hip drive. They make sure they've got the good ab work, and I've got to make sure they've got good chest strength. To in order to put the power into the bar and into the pole and bend the pole. But that if I have a child or have an athlete that is not doing general strength training,
right?
Then, I mean, why get into specificity?
Right.
It's just like it's what I say about a lot of problems. If you can see the problem with the naked eye, you don't need a microscope to fix it. I had a tennis coach talking one time about this, and they said that the person that was working with them on a one-on-one said they really wanted to work on their backhand because they didn't think they were quite holding the racket the right way or swinging the right way or whatever. Really wanted to get, and he said, "Do a favor for me." He said, "Turn around, face the back of the court." And I said, you hear the ball hit my racket. I want you to turn around. And the coach sat on the other side of the net, hit the ball. It went over, and the person, as soon as he heard it hit his racket, so it hadn't even gone across the net. The person turned around and couldn't get to the ball. Yeah. He said, before we can get to the ball, we need to work on, let's be able to get to the ball first before you worry about that. And so that's the analogy I'm making to specificity of training. Now, once you've got that general fitness level, once you are addressing all aspects of fitness from the cardiovascular fitness to general strength training all around flexibility, then at that point, that's when you get into specificity of training. And at that point, yes, I think it's very important. I don't see how, especially as competitive as the field is today, to advance through even to high school now, but definitely to the collegiate level, that you wouldn't use some specificity of training for that. So I'm sure you had some of that in basketball before you played at SUNY.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, did y'all do anything as far as specific to basketball?
Yeah. So actually, this is gonna be a offbeat story, and I apologize, but
listen, I think you're wonderful, but I got you beat on the offbeat stories. I've gone off track 2 or 3 times already. So go ahead.
What made me want to be in kinesiology? My parents hired me a strength coach and a personal trainer. I was in 7th grade. And
Right.
to be on varsity, you had to pass certain fitness tests,
Right.
which was like pull-ups, push-ups, and an agility drill.
Right.
And we trained those basics
Yeah.
so that I could pass the test to be on varsity.
That makes sense.
And we started there and then fell in love with it. And then, yeah, we definitely got into specific basketball training drills. And it was super cool.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Yeah. At that point, it's fun.
Right.
I mean, you had a base already.
Right. You have to start somewhere.
Right. Because I think that getting into specificity in your training too early, then you're going to cause an imbalance, and that's when we get to overuse injuries and stuff like that. So how early did you start that training? That was pre-varsity. So
Right. So sport-specific training, varsity.
varsity. Okay.
Yeah, probably, honestly, not even freshman year varsity, like sophomore or junior year.
Right.
And I was still playing other sports. It's not like I was solely focused on basketball at that point.
Right,
I was also
exactly.
doing swimming, soccer, and tennis.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, but of course we have young athletes come in here. I mean, we've got young swimmers right now. We've had a 9-year-old come in and start with us with soccer.
Yeah.
It was a real phenom. But the first thing we did was made sure they had that base of strength, and then we got into the specificity of training. So
Right.
fantastic. Well, look, if that's all for today on those questions, though, how many of them did you throw out? I don't know if I answered that. I'm kidding. She didn't throw out any questions. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. She didn't throw out any questions. So, but hey, keep your questions coming. We have a Dropbox here at Personal Edge for the clients, or if you're not a client, you want to stop by and drop off a question in the Dropbox for Katie. That's fantastic. But if you have any questions about it, or you want to reach out to us, you can contact the show at 251-278-3343. That's 251-278-EDGE. You can also reach out to me, Garrett, Garrett at personaledgefitness.com, or if you want to ask Katie, you can reach out to her at
KATIE at personaledgefitness.com.
Katie at personaledgefitness.com. That, of course, as I always say, is our website and our Facebook page. And feel free to hit us up on Twitter at Team PE. I think that is all for what was it? Check-in Tuesday.
Check-in Tuesday.
So we'll have another one definitely with Katie. We got another one coming up with Mark Still too in a couple of weeks before he gets going on his race, and we'll probably do the same thing. Have you come back and do the way that box is filling up. We're gonna have to stay on top of this.
I know.
But hey, checking in, watching somebody really make a drastic change in their life and going after it with the right mental attitude, which I think is fantastic with Mark Still, and handling questions, any questions you may have. These are just one more way, or two more ways, I should say, that we help you reach your level of wellness. Thank you so much for joining us today.